Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lika, and I am from the BioTrade Initiative at UNCTAD, based in Geneva. I'm very sorry that I was not able to attend this webinar in person today, but I'm very happy to be here via video. Now let me load my slides. In my presentation, I would like to first give you an introduction to BioTrade and to explain about our guidelines, the BioTrade Principles and Criteria, especially in how it applies to biodiversity conservation and what are the benefits of incorporating these guidelines into businesses and processes. I will also share some of our case studies from our BioTrade partners' experience to illustrate how BioTrade works on the ground. But first of all, I want to give a brief explanation on what is UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. We are the UN agency based in Geneva, Switzerland, that is focused on the interface of trade and development. We sometimes get asked, why are we, an agency focused on trade, involved in biodiversity issues? As you very well know, biodiversity plays a huge role in our economy. Over half the world's GDP comes from the direct use of biodiversity, in which trade definitely plays a big role. But biodiversity needs to be used sustainably in order for the economy and our trade to continue to benefit everyone. So based on this need, the BioTrade Initiative was launched, and we promote the concept of BioTrade. So what exactly then is BioTrade? BioTrade is the commercialization of goods and services derived from biodiversity that adhere to a set of sustainability guidelines, which are the BioTrade Principles and Criteria, and it serves as a foundation to all of our activities at the BioTrade Initiative. Since we first launched in 1996, for over a quarter century, we have been developing a unique portfolio of national, regional, and global BioTrade programs, as well as strengthening our network of partners and practitioners working in close to 100 countries. BioTrade is implemented in a variety of sectors, as you can see here, including the food sector, personal care sector, cosmetics, phytopharma, tourism, fashion, etc. BioTrade products includes, for example, cosmetics made from marula oil from Namibia, herbal plants used for fragrance such as prickly ash from LPDR, spices such as cinnamon and peppercorn from India, birdwatching tourism in Ecuador, and many others. And when we say BioTrade-related products, it means that these products and services are commercialized and produced in a way that abides by the BioTrade Principles and Criteria. The BioTrade Principles and Criteria has 7 principles, which are conservation of biodiversity, sustainable use of biodiversity, fair and equitable sharing of benefits, socioeconomic sustainability, legal compliance, respect for the rights of actors, and clarity on the right to use and access the natural resources. Additionally, there are also 25 criteria that go along with these principles. It's very important to note that the principles and criteria are guidelines. They are not a standard or a certification scheme, so they are publicly accessible to anyone, and it is flexible to be adapted by everyone. For example, we work with governments who use the principles and criteria to develop their own national BioTrade programs, as well as adapt them to create their national guidelines and tools. So how can these guidelines help to contribute to biodiversity conservation, especially now when there's just so many other guidelines, standards, and certifications that focus on the areas of environment and sustainability? First of all, the BioTrade Principles and Criteria are one of the very few guidelines that not only explores how to mitigate biodiversity loss, but also on biodiversity recovery and how to become more biodiversity resilient. And this is very crucial because ecosystem and natural habitats should not only be maintained, but also be restored and enhanced. Secondly, because the principles and criteria are so malleable, it ensures that biodiversity conservation is applicable across different areas, contexts, and sectors. I've already mentioned that we work with governments, and we also work with NGOs and community-based initiatives to enhance their capabilities to develop, for example, sustainably sourced programs, traceability systems, value chain methodologies, and so on. Thirdly, the principles and criteria are in line and abide by other environmental global conventions and agreements. We are compliant with the Convention of Biological Diversity, CBD, with CITES, as well as the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement on climate change. Fourthly, adapting the BioTrade principles and criteria into businesses can not only make their products biodiversity friendly, but it will make it more resilient because the BioTrade principles and criteria can help build more sustainable and durable supply chains. This is especially relevant now as we are going through supply chain issues and sourcing issues due to various ongoing global conflicts. And lastly, the BioTrade Principles and Criteria is not just a theoretical concept, but it's based on real experiences from actual practitioners who have been implementing BioTrade and its guidelines on the ground for almost 2 decades. It has been tested, adapted, and improved over the years, including over a year of comprehensive reassessment for the updated version that was published in 2020. So I've given you a bit of context of what is BioTrade and what are the BioTrade principles and criteria, but how is it applied on the ground? I want to give you 2 examples of BioTrade companies, one from Latin America and the other from Africa. In my first case, I would like to illustrate how adding economic value to biodiversity can provide incentives for conservation. Ucuba is a fruit from the Ucubaíra tree, which grows in the Amazon region in Brazil, traditionally used for logging, but it became listed as an endangered species in 1992. However, it continued to be illegally logged in the local communities because they didn't have any other income to support themselves. Natura Cosmetics is one of the world's biggest Brazilian personal care and cosmetics company, and through research, they found that the seed of this fruit contains butter, which can be transferred into beauty products like body creams and soaps. These products were commercialized by Natura, and a benefit-sharing contract was signed with the local communities. This means that for every Ucuba product that Natura sells, a percentage of the profit goes towards these communities. The people that harvest the fruit will also receive an income. This resulted in the conservation of an area of over 60,000 hectares in the rainforest and saving over 5,000 trees annually, and it now brings an income to over 1,000 families in the community. These communities are no longer cutting down the trees because they now realize that by harvesting the fruits, they can earn 3 times more than cutting them down. So as a result, it stopped the trends of deforestation and habitat loss in the area. My next case is from the Southern African region. When we talk about sustainable production, it doesn't only mean in terms of preventing environmental degradation, but it also means to give back to the local community. The Utafano Winds Cooperative is in Namibia with the mission to promote and commercialize indigenous plants in a way that's not overexploited. One of them is the marula fruit, which they collect and extract 12 tons of oil per year, which is then sold to global companies like The Body Shop. Currently, about 2,500 women are working in this cooperative, and in 2020, the sales for marula oil jumped by 14% from the previous year, and they made a profit of approximately $15 million US. The cooperative harvests in line using the BioTrade principles and criteria, which allows for the plants to not be over-harvested and respect the rights of all actors. The cooperative also invests back into the local community and making a positive impact, such as running schools for the children. These are just 2 of the many cases of how BioTrade has been implemented on the ground with the support of our partners all over the world. So thank you very much for your interest and your attention. If you have any questions about the presentation, please feel free to reach out to me by email. Thank you very much.